There we go. Good. Is it good? No, it's good afternoon, isn't it,
It
Tash?
is.
Good
Very
afternoon. Welcome to the Tash and Bex Flex. We're out on location again.
We
aren't
are.
Tash?
We're in lovely sunny, sugary, well, not sunny, but warm, sugary Cove in Dartmouth today.
Sugary Cove.
Which is like halfway between where we live, pretty much, isn't it?
Yeah, pretty much.
Not miles wise, but time wise, because you have to get a boat
to
get here. Normally I get the boat to get to your house. But
no, it's cute, isn't it?
it's cute.
But I got the boat today.
You got the boat
I
today.
got the boat. So anyway, we thought today we would talk about. Sorry, I feel really sweaty.
You're a bit pasty-ish. Just a little bit.
Smell like a pasty.
Essence de pasty.
Oh, lovely.
That's right. I'll just close my nose.
Well, I just have to find people that like pasties. Yeah, we thought we'd talk about the Mental Health Act, didn't we? Because we've noticed, not naming any names, that various people are being grabbed
Pulled up on it.
and pulled up, and then they're being sectioned. So we thought we'd look at what's happened with this whole sectioning thing.
And what this whole sectioning's about, because this is, I told you, didn't I? I went to the doctor's, I had to have some bloods done.
Oh,
And
yeah.
the nurse moved me around, and I could actually look at my journal. And I looked up, and in capital letters on the front page, it had personality disorder. Now, I don't have a personality disorder. I checked, I looked up, it had my date of birth, my name, and then it had my other minor ailments underneath. It was definitely my page. And I used to work in a doctor's surgery, and I used to have to go into my journal to do my repeat prescriptions and stuff, and it wasn't there back then. That was 9 years ago.
So in the last 9 years, without your knowledge...
Well, I surely wouldn't. I've seen a psychiatrist. A personality disorder
Well,
is a serious mental health condition.
Yes, and I know people that have got personality disorders, and they took years to diagnose.
Years and years.
Years
Yeah, we both
diagnosed.
got personal experience with that,
Yeah.
and it's not an easy thing. So
No.
you would have to have a psychiatrist. You'd likely be on medication. You'd
Yeah.
likely have therapy.
Yeah.
And you'd likely know about it. So I just thought that was very interesting. I'm going to make an appointment with the practice manager and
Discuss it.
discuss it. I want to know who put it on,
When?
when it went on, and who diagnosed me, and why. I mean, if it was like depression or something like that, but personality disorder, and it's there like a warning, like I'm going to smash their faces in with a spade or something. I was like, oh my god! I think it might have had exclamation marks either side, like a proper warning, and it was in capitals.
It's outrageous.
But I don't have a personality disorder.
But what that shows is that things can be in your medical notes that you know nothing about, and that could be extremely detrimental to you in the future.
Well, also, whoever goes into my file, the first thing they see is that I've got this personality disorder. So if I'm going to A&E or wherever, and it also means I could probably be detained very easily. If need
and
be.
they could use that because I'm trying to help someone at the moment, and it's much harder because
They've got a label.
they have a label, and they've done it to them before for the same reasons.
Right.
So they've been sectioned before.
So
for
I
the
think
same
I do need to get that off then, don't I?
Yes.
I need to work hard on that. But yeah, that's what made us kind of think, oh,
Yeah, it's just
Blimey.
worth looking at what the hell's going on with this mental health stuff, and why is it that at the moment people that are speaking truth and talking about things that we're all aware of, the voices are getting louder and louder, and I'm talking about in terms of criminal behaviour of government people and all of that. Why are they all suddenly being snatched and
detained.
sectioned? So we knew that the Mental Health Act had changed, didn't it, as part of the Coronavirus Act. So we thought we'd have a little look at
So we thought we'd look at the mental health. So in most cases, when people are treated in hospital for mental health issues, it's a voluntary thing. You might go to your doctor, you're not feeling right, you might be severely depressed, you might not be able to work, you might not be able to function. So on the whole, you tend to be sort of referred
You're asking
voluntarily.
You're asking
yeah,
for
you're
help,
asking for
aren't
the
you?
help. Yeah. And then there are cases when a person can be detained, which is known as sectioned, and that's under the Mental Health Act, which is 1983. And at that point, that's when they can get treated without their permission or without any agreement, without anything. It means that you become a property of the state, I suppose, and they can basically do what they want with you. So what I thought I'd do was look.
Can we just clarify why somebody would be sectioned? Because as I understood it, it was if you were harm to yourself or to others.
Yes, that's the kind of, if you put it in simple layman's terms. Yeah.
So you have to be a harm to yourself or others.
So generally that would be, of the signs of suicide, signs of mania and doing risky behaviour. And then obviously hurting other people would be the more people who are suffering from probably schizophrenia and things like that,
and
where they're
could
seeing
maybe
delusions
get a little bit violent or
yeah,
something.
or psychopaths, or you know those types of people.
Yeah.
They seem to be everywhere, psychopaths, don't they?
Yes.
So what I thought I'd do was look at the sections that they use, because you don't really. I think section 5, is that the one you hear?
Section 2
Section 2
and section 3 is often
it? Yeah,
talked
you often
about.
hear them, don't you? Oh, they were
Section
thingied.
2.
Section 2. So section 136. So this is an arrest by a police officer from a public place. Compulsory detention to a place of safety for up to 24 hours for a Mental Health Act assessment by a medical practitioner and an approved mental health practitioner. The detention starts when the person arrives at the place of safety, hospital, or rarely police cells. The service user can be moved.
You've lost this. Oh, is that it there?
Yeah, the service user can be moved under this section between places of safety. So that was section 136.
Okay.
And then we've got section 135. So this one allows the police to gain entry into an individual's home when an assessment under the Act is being considered and voluntary access is denied. Such entry requires a warrant by an authorised magistrate.
Okay.
So that's section 135.
So basically, they can get a warrant and come in and take you. And other than that, they can take you, but it states they have to have two people, two professionals that agree
that have agreed
that is the right course of action for you. Right.
And then section 5, subsection 4, is a compulsory detention in hospital by a registered nurse for up to 6 hours for the purpose of consideration of section 5.2, which is the next one I'll talk about. The service user must already be receiving treatment for a mental disorder as an inpatient.
Right, that's interesting. So they've got to
So
already be known to them and in there having some treatment. For something.
So then the section 5, subsection 2, is a compulsory detention in hospital, usually by the doctor in charge of the patient's care, but approved clinicians from non-medical backgrounds may undertake this role as well. Detention can last for up to 72 hours to allow the Mental Health Act assessment to take place. The service user must already be an inpatient in hospital, but not necessarily for the treatment for the mental disorder. So you could be in hospital for something different.
So you could be in hospital for an appendicitis.
Yeah, and they could think, oh, something might flag up.
She's got a personality disorder.
Yeah, just put it on her notes.
Section her.
Let's put it on her notes and then we'll get her.
Next time she's
crazy
in for
stuff.
something else, we can have her.
We'll get her then.
Yeah.
Terrible. Then section 4. So section 4 is emergency admission to hospital for up to 72 hours to allow a Mental Health Act assessment to take place. Requires one medical recommendation. Not more than 24 hours must have elapsed between the medical assessment and admission. So that's section 4. And then section 2. Admission to hospital for assessment, followed by medical treatment if necessary for up to 28 days. Requires 2 medical recommendations, one of which should be made by a doctor who knows the service user. Not more than 5 days must have elapsed between the medical assessments. An application for detention under section 2 can be made by an approved mental health practitioner or the patient's nearest relative. Admission must be within 14 days after the last medical recommendation has been completed. Section 2 cannot be renewed. So that's section 2.
What do they mean by can't be renewed? Can only be
so
done
it has
once?
to be done, yeah. So if they were to present as a problem again, it has to start again.
The procedure starts
again. Yeah, the procedure starts again. So that is like into the process, I'd imagine. And then section 3. So again, admission, this is what that person we were talking about. This is what
happened to them, yeah.
So admission to hospital for treatment for up to 6 months. Appropriate medical treatment must be available. Requires 2 medical recommendations, one of which should be made by a doctor who knows the service user again. Not more than 5 days must have elapsed between the medical assessments. An application for detention for section 3 can be made by an approved mental health practitioner or the nearest relative. Admission must be within 14 days after the last recommendation has been completed. Section 3 can be renewed for a period of up to 6 months and then annually. So section 2 is a pretty scary one.
Yeah.
Sorry, section 3 is a pretty scary one, isn't it? So that one
so they can hold you for 6 months and then just do it again,
hold
and then just do it again,
annually,
and then just do it again.
The patient's nearest relative can object to the detention, so there is probably a way to do it. And then the other thing they do is a community treatment order, a CTO, and this allows certain inpatients to be discharged with some conditions and allows them to be recalled to the original section if it is necessary for them to return to hospital. There are 2 mandatory conditions for all people on CTO. these certain the renewal of the CTO and the rules about medical treatment, other conditions which must relate to. So receiving medical treatment, preventing harm to self, protecting others. And these CTOs are intended to improve engagement with services, promote improved mental health, and allow for a quick response to crisis situations, support services, users and carers.
So that's more like a sort of day release thing, is it, where you can be at home but you're still under...
It's kind of like they're testing you.
Yeah.
Are you allowed to go back
Yeah.
into society?
And if you behave, you're fine. If not, they can hoik you back in.
Yeah, basically.
Very, very easily.
And then the last one they use a lot is section 117, so 117. This section concerns the duty to provide aftercare for people who are subject to certain sections of the Act in order to support their mental health for as long as they require it. Service user does not have to pay for the services provided under section 117. To stop it must be discharged by local authority and clinical commissioning groups. So that's almost like the last stage by the sounds of it, doesn't it?
Yeah, as you're sort of coming out
of
the system.
Yeah. So they're apparently the commonly used sections and subsections that are used within the Mental Health Act 1984. Oh, she's got a bit of a
Sorry,
sore hip.
my hip. Yeah, sorry, I'm an old bird, and my hip just didn't like that. So that was the Mental Health Act, as was from 1983. It'd never been changed or touched. But then.
COVID happened. Oh, we
COVID?
can't do that because of COVID.
The Rona came along and changed it all.
not
Yeah.
COVID.
Bloody COVID, yeah. So, what happened was, when I looked at the COVID Act, the Coronavirus Act of 2020, I mean, I did kick up about it at the time.
Yeah, because when they sort of
Yeah.
were throwing around that only one person needs to do it, wasn't
Yeah.
it? That was the thing that kind of stood out.
I was just like, guys, they're just going to pass this, you know, and on social media, and everyone was just ignored. Nobody took any notice, but it's got an interesting introduction. It says, this is an act to make provision in connection with coronavirus and for connected purposes. So, connected purposes, it's such
That is as broad as you like, isn't it?
really broad. So it's not just anything that, you know, connected with the coronavirus, but for connected purposes.
So that's open to any abuse.
It's open to interpretation,
Yeah.
very vague. And then the next bit said, this is just sort of on the front of it, you know, be it enacted by the Queen's most excellent Majesty by and with the advice and consent of the Lords spiritual and temporal and commons in this present Parliament assembled, and by the authority of the same as follows. Just thought,
Wow, what is that all about?
well, it's a very weird statement.
Temporal
The
and
Lord's
commons.
spiritual and temporal. So spiritual, obviously, is spiritual. Temporal is of the mind,
Your temple.
Yeah.
And then
your brain. But yeah, so a bit of pomp and ceremony at the beginning there. Oh, the sun's come out, Tash.
nice.
Yeah. And this was passed on the 25th of the 3rd, 2020. So we went into hard lockdown on the
19th,
23rd.
Is it 23rd? Is
I
it
think
the
it was
19th? They retracted it. That's right. 23rd they locked us down. They
Yeah.
retracted it, didn't they? Said it wasn't a highly infectious
Yeah,
disease on the 19th.
on the 19th. Yes, they did.
Then they did that on the 23rd,
Yeah.
locked us down, and then that.
And
2
then they
days
passed
later.
this 2 days later, yeah. So these are the changes to the Mental Health Act of 1983, which Tash has been through. And I looked at Schedule 8 of the Coronavirus Act. If you want to check this out and look at it yourself, it's Schedule 8. And the idea behind it was that this was to cater for the shortage of key staff.
Yes.
All right, so that's how they've kind of got away with what they've done in it, because
So that's
they're
their
saying,
reasoning for it.
yeah, they're saying we're not going to have very many staff. I mean, how they can kind of forecast that, God knows.
So they don't have many staff, so therefore there's going to be loads of people with mental health problems running the streets,
Yeah.
macheting other people. type
Absolutely,
attitude.
and all of our mental health nurses are going to be dead from the Rona, so we're going to have to do this. So, firstly, it starts with applications for detention for holding people. So, whereas with the original Mental Health Act, as Tash said, you needed 2 people to recommend that you be detained. Now, it is 1 Section 12 approved doctor. Now, we don't know what a Section 12
No.
approved doctor is, but if anyone there...
So it might be something to do with Section 12 of the Mental Health Act, perhaps.
perhaps, or
it's a,
is there different sections of doctors?
not that I'm aware of.
Not sure.
But it's probably connected to the act, isn't it?
Yeah. And all they need to do to section you or to detain you is personally examine you, but they do not need previous acquaintance.
So they don't know anything about your...
No.
There's no continuity of care
No,
there then?
no. And whereas, as you stated in the original, they had to have prior knowledge of you. They had to know you. They had to be your doctor, basically,
or practitioner,
your psychiatrist, or whatever, and actually know you. They don't have to know you anymore. So we could be hoiked off the beach in a second and sectioned by a doctor who's never met us before.
Especially me, because I already have a personality
You've
disorder.
got a personality,
I'm already...
and I've got a T-shirt that they probably think is a bit crazy. So that would be enough to section both of us. So with this detainment, it must include a statement from an approved mental health practitioner.
So a statement that can be written? Verbal? I mean, what's the statement? It's very vague, isn't it?
It says the opinions as to why... hang on, let me read that again. Why have I put that? As to why one...
so they need to justify why there's only why they only need one person to recommend it.
Yeah, and the reason that they don't need two would be that it would be impractical or would involve an undesirable delay.
So impractical would mean they haven't got the staff to find somebody else to do it, and the undesirable delay would be
they've got to wait for someone to...
And the fact that somebody might kill themselves or do something, hurt somebody else.
So, and with this holding, with this detention, as Tash said, they could hold you for 72 hours. Now, under the Coronavirus Act of 2020, they can hold you for 120 hours.
So that's 6 days.
6 days,
is that right?
I think so.
We're not very...
do the math.
I can't do maths because
I think it's 5. I go 6 would be...
I've got a personality disorder. I can't do anything.
No, 6 twos would be 120. So
72 is 3 days.
So it's 5.
Double it.
Oh yeah. So
Double it,
just
6.
under.
Yeah, just shy of 6.
Yeah. And also with a nurse, so a mental health nurse, so not even a doctor, that used to be able to hold you for 6 hours while assessing you, can now hold you for 12. So they've basically doubled the holding times.
Even though there's less nurses.
Yeah.
So what they've done is they've doubled they've almost like saying we've halved the staff but doubled the time we're assessing.
Yeah,
so that's their justification.
They're
so they're saying,
short-staffed. Wouldn't it be the other way around? Or we don't want to hold people for a long time because we're short-staffed.
But what they're kind of saying, that justifies it because they're getting double the amount of time to assess the same situation. That would normally be 2 people.
Yeah.
I bet you that's... So normally you'd have 2 people and you'd have 72
so
hours. And now they're saying 1 person, but they're getting as much
We'll give you more time because there's only one of you.
And it kind of justifies the fact that they will still make a good assessment with 1 person. I think, maybe.
Maybe that's their logic. And mental health patients that are in criminal proceedings or under sentence. So, for example, if you've been, you were demonstrating.
Right.
Okay. Oh, Tash, come back. If you were demonstrating, we are on a slope. This isn't easy. But say you were demonstrating, protesting, and then you were taken for that. So you're under, you've already been held by. Oh, we've got some bathers behind us as well. That you're being held. You're being held because they consider you broken the law, and then they go, oh, I think they might be a little bit mental health weedy pops.
So they can basically use that as well.
Yeah, so they can hold you for these new set amounts of time, and also they no longer have to supply written evidence. Oral evidence is enough.
Wow, so that necessarily wouldn't even be recorded then, so there's not really any...
There's no paper trail. If you're not putting things in writing, it's hearsay, isn't it?
There's no fact.
No, there's no fact.
There's no fact anyway, it should be, it's all ridiculous, isn't it, the whole things.
So that leaves the patient very, very vulnerable because they don't need to keep a record. They can just say...
They did this, they did that.
They did this, they did that, yeah. Doesn't need to be evidenced as it did before.
What's he doing? Is he getting in?
He's getting in and he's going...
He's done it.
Oh, he's a brave man.
Go on. Yay!
And the last bit that I looked at, part 4, consent to treatment, because this is one thing we always talk about, that I would hate to be held down and...
Injected.
Which,
do you know what? That's the most frightening thing ever.
Well, the person that I was trying to help, that's happened to them twice when they were first taken. Again... You only need one person to think that you need to be held down and medicated, to consult one other, whereas it used to be two. So in the past, you'd have to have 3 people that agreed that you need to be medicated against your will.
Yeah.
And now it's literally, it would be your...
Only one person who sees them in person, and then you could then
Yeah.
phone up your
Yeah.
your superior
Yeah.
and say, I think they're doing this, that and the other. Yeah, go ahead, do
Because
it.
it's consult. They don't need to see
Yeah,
you.
consult,
They
that's
just need to make that phone call and say, you know, I think he's getting a bit aggressive, or she's getting a bit neurotic, you know.
Yeah, they're rambling, they're doing this, they're doing that, they're doing that. It's really scary, actually.
It's very scary. So it's...
I don't want to ever be injected,
No.
like with anything. Cause
Ever
I don't,
again.
But I just I just don't understand, like, how can you, if you were to get detained, let's say I was to get detained because I was doing something illegal, for anything, and then they
You
look
don't
at my
even have to be
medical
doing
notes.
anything illegal to be
No,
detained.
exactly. But let's just say I was, I don't know, doing something. I was mooning or something, or doing something.
Showing your
indecent
tits
exposure.
at a bus stop, yeah.
Let's say I was doing that, so nothing to do with the coronavirus.
Yeah.
Then I get detained.
Yeah.
And then they look at my medical records with the personality disorder ! Exclamation mark.
Yeah.
They then, in theory,
Could just
could just then section me.
It could
under
hold
that
you.
reason.
Yeah.
So how could I then physically stop being injected? How would I have to prove myself?
You couldn't.
I need to get this off my records, don't I?
Yes.
Quick.
Yes. But I mean, we all need to be aware that basically we are very, very vulnerable to being sectioned unnecessarily and held. I mean, the person I'm trying to help was Section 2'd, arrested, then Section 2'd to be held for 28 days, and now they're trying to push it over into a Section 3.
6-month one.
Yeah, and that can be, as we know, that can be just redone and
Right,
redone.
so they can do it every 6 months and then annually. So what they do is they then do
Just
it at the
hold
end
you
of the year, then
indefinitely.
6 months,
Yeah.
annual referral.
Just-
6 months, annual referral.
Yeah, just hold you indefinitely.
Annual assessment, sorry.
Yeah. And so this is why, we all need to be very aware that, you know, I mean, they've only got to find one corrupt doctor to section people they want to shut up. That's
Yeah,
my...
and they could just allocate that doctor for that reason.
Yeah.
They can move the doctors around.
Yeah. So it's
Scary
really
stuff.
worth being aware of how vulnerable people are, that there's probably a lot of people sectioned at the moment that don't need to be
It shouldn't
sectioned.
be, yeah. Oh, I don't like it.
No, it's not good.
Scary
So we
stuff.
thought we wanted to highlight it for the general public and also make you aware because I think next week there will be some campaigning going on about this. So if you do see the call to action, get involved because it
can.
could be you.
But then maybe not get involved because then they might be working
Well-
out who's who as well. You just don't know, do you?
I don't know. I'm of
quite
the
like
mind
to be-
of, I like to stay safe, but I also like to have my say. I think we all have to stick together and challenge these things.
Needs to have big numbers.
Yes.
So that it's not a case of, oh, look, those
Those-
like with Piers, when Piers has that thing and he has like 8 people and that man playing the banjo. And it's like, oh my God, you're just making a spectacle of yourself and putting yourself out there, whereas it needs to be lots of people where...
And what I don't understand is why isn't Piers getting taken off and sectioned?
He gets
There
taken
are
off,
certain
doesn't he? And that's
characters-
that.
Yeah, but he never gets.
No. 'Cause
So
he's
there's
a-
certain
he's an
characters.
actor.
Yeah, there's certain characters that get away with everything, and
He's
then
an
there's
actor.
other what I call grassroots people who
get it.
who get it
and get
yeah.
made an example of to scare.
to scare everyone else off. Yeah, to scare them off.
Definitely.
So
I feel like I'm gonna get dogged.
We're going to get dogged in a minute. That sounds a bit bad.
I have a theory.
We're not going dogging, no.
No, they're
But
just
there
like-
is a
there's
big
lots of-
hairy dog in the
A wet one.
vicinity. Yeah,
Oh,
wet
whilst
one.
I'm here as well, I need to thank everybody on the channel for all of their help with Will. So,
Yeah.
my husband, as
Poor
you know,
Will.
had his accident. He's not very good at all. His broken ribs are very, very bad. His broken nose makes him look, I don't like the way he looks, that's really mean. Yeah.
We'll get him a nose job, Tash.
You have to save up for a nose job.
When he's better,
And his
yeah.
nose job. But all of the things, so he's taken those of arnica. It's a bit of a shame really because I don't pay him a lot of attention, and obviously I've got all this comfrey oil and all these calendula oils, and I'm rubbing him.
I bet
but
he's
not-
enjoying that,
No,
isn't
because it hurts.
Ah,
I feel a bit-
finally
he's
he
like-
gets
It's
attention.
like, this is the most attention I've had, and he's like, fuck. You know, so shut up, just put the comfrey oil on him, and I'm like, for God's sake, and he's like, they're broken. And you know, I never rub creams into him like ever. And then
Well-
I do it, and he's like, oh, crying.
He might spin it out so that even when he's better, he pretends.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
better watch out for that.
Yeah,
wouldn't
watch
I?
out for that,
But
yeah.
bless him, he's tried to go to work because he's a twat like that. And he's come back every day after about half an hour. It's like, it really hurts.
Oh, Will. Get
So
well
he's
soon,
very black and
Will.
blue and very, very bloody.
Yeah.
Lots of wounds. I think we worked out the only place that wasn't injured was his feet and his tummy. And the rest of it's either got,
cuts,
stitches, bruises.
Oh, those
breaks.
bruises you showed me last
Oh,
night.
his hip. I mean, I don't even know how he's walking, really.
I don't know how he's moved. I don't know how
No.
he's alive.
We got back on his bike and carried on cycling.
He's mental. He's mental. And I wanted to say thank you because I never thank anybody for liking, commenting or subscribing. But I know, because everyone goes, thank you for your likes, shares and subscribes. So I'm like, I'm not going to say thank you. Yeah. But anyway, we do appreciate you. I do love everyone on our Telegram channel because when we put things out like
Everyone's
help,
brilliant.
everyone comes forward and sends healing and love and different remedy ideas.
Yeah.
We do appreciate you.
Very much so.
Yeah. And we will, all being well, we will be back next week.
Yes.
And just stay sane, all right? Forget stay safe.
Check your medical records.
Stay sane. And check your medical records.
Christ.
Because you don't know what's written in there. It's just happened to Tash, It's just crazy. It's absolutely nuts.
I don't think I've ever seen any person for anything to do with mental health, not even a doctor.
Well, I mean, I've got a diagnosis of PTSD, which leaves me vulnerable. And I've got, in capital letters across the top of mine, I've got 1987 complete mental breakdown, which is when I came back from India. But I just had a spiritual...
And you had dysentery, didn't you?
I had amoebic dysentery. I had septic...
What were you,
thing
19?
here. 18.
18.
Yeah, and I'd done a lot of naughty things.
Yeah, so they could use these things. But the thing is,
Oh,
with
yeah.
me, I mean, I've never seen... There's a couple of times with both my children when they've made me see people because of their illnesses.
Yeah.
And that's the only way I can think that it's come from
But you
somewhere.
would have
But it
seen
would have just,
that.
and it
You
would
would
just
have
be
seen
someone's
that.
opinion. And anyway, because it's not, how can it be a diagnosis if you don't see a
Yeah,
psychiatrist?
and you would have seen that when you were nursing, wouldn't you?
Solly, yes. Oscar
A bit later was that.
could have come in a bit later, yeah.
But my kids have had issues. It doesn't mean that I've got a personality disorder.
No, and that's a severe thing. And they just said she's a bit delusional, but I'm not delusional either. I think at one point with Oscar, they were trying to make out that it was like, because they said it was in Oscar's head, his illness, which it clearly wasn't. They were kind of trying to put it onto me, maybe.
Okay, so Munchausen
Yeah,
by proxy.
but why didn't it say that?
Yeah, she's got Munchausen's by proxy. I don't know, perhaps personality disorder.
Maybe that is part of it. I
I
don't know.
don't
But
know.
yeah, but I'm going to definitely look into it.
Yeah, we've got to get that off, Tash, because
Get it off.
we don't want that. We don't want that, do we? So yeah, look after your mental health, guys, and make sure you don't get nabbed, because if you get nabbed, they can just.
I think I might just like bury myself in the garden or something.
I'm gonna bury myself on the beach.
I'm thinking now,
Honestly.
I just think I'm gonna bury. I'm gonna build a little tunnel to my shed.
But then
And if they come knocking, I'm gonna go in the tunnel.
Then they'll go. There's the evidence of her personality disorder.
She's buried herself in the back garden with her dog.
We're definitely sectioning her.
I need to shut up now. don't
Yeah,
I?
we just need to act like we're sane, Tasha. That's
Okay.
probably the best route of
I'll just be
action.
really boring and wear little tea dresses and bake cakes and stuff.
Yeah, and
Make cups of tea.
make
and
cups
knit
of tea,
and crochet.
knit, crochet, and watch lots of soaps.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, and loads of morning daytime TV.
Oh, don't get me started on that
Yeah.
thing. They had instead of Loosely Women, they had something called Loosely Men on. I don't watch it. I have to watch it
Joking.
because I'm at work. And it was Vernon Kay,
Ugh.
Martin Kemp's son, somebody
Oh,
Kemp, Rowan
Rowan.
Kemp,
Yeah.
and Vernon Kay. Oh, and the one that's married to the rugby player who's married to one of the princesses, Zara.
Oh, yeah. What's
Tyndall.
his name? Tyndall.
Tyndall.
Mike.
They were the biggest fannies I have ever. Oh, the way they were talking, honestly, just disgusting. It's just disgusting. the
Have
whole
we
thing.
got bigger balls than them,
Well,
Tash?
that Vernon Kay is a girl, isn't he?
Is he
very
the one
female.
that did?
The
Is
str-
married
yeah.
to Tess of the.
Tess Daly.
Tess Daly, yeah,
who's
'cause
very masculine. funny enough.
I was looking at her because I had to watch TV last weekend at my dad's, and yeah, she's got man legs.
Yeah, she's very masculine.
She's got the jaw, and I looked at her calves as well.
And he's very but he's got very female face in his hair, and they're just weirdos. They're all actors again, aren't they? They're not
Yeah.
real people. They're just there to create falseness.
Falseness. They're just part of the Matrix, aren't they?
The Matrix, absolutely.
Part of the Matrix.
Oh, the sun is gorgeous.
It's lovely, isn't it?
Beautiful. Right, we shall love you and
Yeah.
leave you.
All right, and we'll see you next week. We might I don't know what I'm not going to speculate what we're going to do next week. We might be sectioned next week. So we might be doing one from Marcel. All right, see you later, guys.
Bye.
Bye.